Well, welcome to the Dream Labs. I am Dr. Contrast and we are live. Holy cow, boy. And before I begin here today, I just want to make sure that I make this announcement. I just felt so bad last week about what was taking place here in the office. I thought for sure that embarrassing as all get out. I thought for sure that last Wednesday, it was Tuesday, and I was working away in the office here doing some work for a STEM program I'm dealing with here in several states, and all of a sudden, keep up the steep moving. Hey, good deal. Keep stuff moving. That's great. Good to have you on board, Ed Terrace. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Again, a real quick note. I was just absolutely shocked. I got home. I thought, well, I've got the program for tomorrow all set to go. And my wife said, no, today's Wednesday. I said, no, it's Tuesday. Sure enough, she was correct, and I completely mistook the whole idea behind the scenes here. So, good to have you guys back on board today. And Terrace, again, thank you so much. It's always good to have you on board. Your insight, questions, and commentary is always invaluable. Can't thank you enough for that. And what I thought to do today, just kind of switch gears and go to some interior space concept work, architectural work. I always felt that this is a very interesting and intriguing discipline. And I'm going to start here go through some mechanics of how to set things up, how to set the perspective up. This little sketch I've already started already, just getting into a one-point perspective and again, to build a drawing. And the one thing I want to really stress about this whole system here today, whether it's a hands-on sketch I'll be doing and showing some work I have done for some architectural firms and companies across the country and overseas, and just show you what I think the most important aspect of interior space design is. One of the things that I go back to as a student at the CCS in Detroit, Michigan, and Sid Mead was my instructor, for which I'm extremely eternally grateful. I mean, the guy was just phenomenal. No doubt, more than just a creative genius, he's an absolute mentor, great thinker, and always looking at the visual side of life from an analytical point of view and how to make things better, how to strengthen your skills. And the one comment he made about interior space design was really unique. He said, when you get into interior space sketch rendering, whether it's finished sketches or thumbnail sketches or just drama sketches, whatever you're dealing with, the most important thing is to keep it mobile. And he went through a demonstration about how to keep it mobile. And what he was saying was, which I don't work in one area. Always move things around and go front, back, right, left, up or lower. Just moving all the time, changing the pace and the tempo of the sketch to kind of guarantee the fact that you've got a good solid overall shell and sketch to deal with. And I think that's true. I think he also made it very clear during the whole session too, and all through the years I was working with him, that it's so true of anything you deal with. It's a structural comment about keeping things moving, keep it mobile. And the idea behind that is whether it's automobile design, architectural exterior, interior space like we're doing today, or product design, or anything else you're dealing with here, it's just a product. It just literally means moving around. Don't stay in love or dwell in one area. Move it around and keep it active. And you'll find out that the tempo is quicker. The freshness of the sketch maintains itself, and also the last and most important thing is it looks like it's alive. It gives it character. It's got a personality to it, and I think that's one of the most important. I'm just drawing through things and flying through lines and being mobile with it. It's absolutely terrific. So I'm going to do a little black pen sketch here today. I've already started a little bit of an architecture to get it rolling in here for you. We're obviously horizon line. So I have the vanishing point, that's where I'm standing, pardon me, the central vanishing point. Then I'm going to move around here and move this sketch through and get this thing started just a bit. Come back to central vanishing point. Let's rotate just for a bit here. Let's kind of get this down, just kind of get that all set. Let's change the sequence here. Get that to move over. Come back in here. Come back, pardon me, so I just move this around a bit. Come back to this. Get that wall set up here. Let's move this in just a bit. Move that in just a bit. Create this blockade here. Now notice I'm trying to leave it back into space here and keeping it pretty active as we go. Back in again. And again, we'll come back out here and get this thing to come down to this baseline here. Just gonna get these guys set up just a little bit. We'll go through it here. Now let's bring this sketch over and get the ceiling in place. Now let's come back to center line here. Back to drive line. Back to drive line. Get that all set up. Now we'll come back in here. These sketches together. Let's come back out here, get a little bit of a drive line down the line here. So we're going to open up the space a little bit more, getting it kind of a compacted area here. Just open it up and just give me more flair to it. Let's come back in here and get some of this guy to put together here. Let's come back down the line here to this. Now let's go back and pick a station here. About right there. Let's bring that up. Get that drive line back. Let's get that a little receptionist desk here. Real loose. Real quick sketch. Let's frame that in. Let's give this a little bit of an escape here. Into that. Let's drive this line off of here. A little bit of flavor in this guy. Let's get this all set. Get this in place. Drive this back just a bit. Now, so we're kind of building the whole process here, kind of bringing it all together here, kind of enveloping the whole shape very quickly and loosely. Let's come back in there and get some more of this stuff to work here. And let's put a little bit of softness in this guy. And get that to work. There you are. Just nice and easy. Very gestural, nothing really specific here. And when I'm at it here, and I work with a lot of clients, I do a lot of thumbnail sketches like this to kind of go through the process of putting the idea together before I really begin to nail things down and get the actual flavor put together for this thing. So it's just a lot of little odds and ends about putting process together here. Let's put a little bit of logo back here of the corporation so we get an idea what it's like. Put that all together here, put that together. Let's bring that into place. He's in play here. Got it. Let's see, bring that back into place here. What do you think, Terrace? Making sense for you? How we kind of putting all the pieces together, kind of building the shape as we go around the bend here. So far, so good, huh? Hopefully. Working pretty nicely. Just getting some soft sculpture in there and put a little bit of scale back in through here. And again, just going back here to right behind this desk area. A little more scale, people involved in that guy. And a little bit of time, it's effort. And this to this. And lo and behold, there it is. Quick little thumbnail study. Just a quick ballpoint pen sketch, or I'd like you to add some dynamic angles to not over. Yeah, I think adding some of the things to it to give it away, take it away some personality again. But the key thing here, I think, on Terrace throughout the entire sketch was to keep it mobile. Keep it very active in terms of actually moving it out of space and changing shape and form and letting those kind of tones take place. And I think just a nice little change of pace here, just for what it's worth. Sometimes you just add little things like this, makes a huge difference. Come back in and add a bit of tone to it, a bit of depth. And again, one of the tricks that, again, Mead told us, getting into this whole concept of getting invitational graphics. And by that, I'll show you in just a moment. By invitational graphics, you start with a brush like this, and you come back in and slow down that stroke and let it come back in and just and infiltrate. Let that kind of become much more dynamic as you come through the process. Same thing with this. You come back through the same way, invite the viewer in. Those pointers, bring it right back in. All of a sudden, you're trapping the viewer to bring it back into this in the actual space itself. So it's a really interesting little concept in terms of how we put it all together. And you come back in and just put a bit of base underneath here, and a little bit of this, add a little bit of tone to this. Same concept. Come back in, out of the corner, flare it back in. Don't complete it, and just finish it. And there it is. And sometimes you can go back in and add a little bit of tone here, maybe a number 3 gray, just to tell you where the light source is. Let's go to a wider nib here. And you come back in. See if I can get this kind of line up a little bit here. And there she is. It's a quick little thumbnail sketch, an interior space study. I mean, kind of a fun situation to come into here. Let's do a little bit of this with that same kind of pattern to get going here. And there it is, a little black and white study. Let's do this, wrap it up. What do you think, Antares? Making sense? Coming along all right? I've not heard the term invitational graphics before, so it means adding tonal elements to lead the idea. Yeah, I think that the invitational graphics, for example, is when you've got everything coming forward at you, for example, this one-point perspective, everything's coming at you, you use things like these marker studies, these lines, to kind of pull you back into the space. So it becomes an invitational graphic in terms of getting the viewer back inside the space as opposed to keeping me out here, out there in the periphery area. So again, that was one of the geniuses of Sid Mead. I mean, that guy was just an absolute genius in terms of using the whole term about mobility, mobility in the sketch, being able to put that mobility into play, meaning keep the viewer mobile. If you maintain mobility, the viewer will have mobility. He has more things to look at. It's much more appealing. It's not just a static set of circumstances to work with here. So does that help to clarify it for you, Terrace, hopefully? It means invite the viewer in. Keep it moving. Just keep it moving in terms of invite the viewer to come back into the space. Let me just kind of knock in just more spots in here, and we're going to move on. That's a little bit cleaner, a little bit cleaner, a little bit cleaner, etc. And just a little bit, but not one little detail here to kind of wrap this up. Okay, there she is. I mean, that's a pretty good indication of how to set up a real rapid sketch in terms of putting together a theme or a character. And I think one thing I want to make sure too before I leave here into the next pass. What I almost felt was interesting to me is I go through a whole series of sketches like this, no matter what the client base is, whether it's a small project or a bigger project, no matter what the scale is. I always take a look at a lot of thumbnail sketches like this, very quick, very rapid, lay them out there, because as you well know, there's a lot of verbalization that goes on in some of the design processing work here. And I think the more you deal with it, the more you understand the shape and how to deal with it, how to get things set up as far as space and concerns, and all those elements take place, makes an enormous difference in terms of getting the right direction at the right time without wasting the client's space and money. So I spent a lot of time doing a lot of sketches like this, and I just want to go through a method here to start the program today about what this whole idea of mobility means and putting together interior space. The more the active the sketch is, the more interesting experience the viewer. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I've never ceased to amaze me, Terrace, about when you put together a sketch, it has a lot of animation in it, a lot of motion, and a lot of movement. It intrigues the viewer to kind of walk through the space with you. You actually invited them to live the space or the product or the automobile or the architectural piece that you're dealing with. And as I said earlier too, I always use that mobility system in all the sketches I do, thumbnail sketches, whether it's product, automobile, architecture, logo development. That mobility, that comment from Sid Mead has been ingrained in me. Just like the whole idea, his whole concept, that creativity roars through the corridors of time, roars through. In other words, it moves, it has a voice. And the more the voice, the active voice is in your sketch, the more prominent and the more acceptability you'll have in the marketplace. People will recognize your work by the structure in it, by the freedom in it, by the mobility, the melody in it. It's all about melody, and also that's mobility too. So it's like note changing in music. It's the same set of circumstances. Slow tempo, adagio, caggio, scherzo. Classical music systems where you have adagio, very slow pace, and then adagio, middle tone, and then scherzo, quick flurries. We actually move into it and really kind of change the pace. So that was that start. Let's put that aside for a moment here. So that's the active side of it. I just want to show you some examples of things I've done in the past here that magnify and hopefully accentuate that same set of circumstances. Here's a theory study of, I'm going to go through a series of studies now of sketches in the past I've dealt with and worked with, and it's just been a lot of fun to work with. Very, very rapid little thumbnail frame, a little photo study here for like an interior of a mall. Working with a client here some months ago, putting that program together for that individual, what it might look like at a certain lobby area or area of the actual mall itself. And then inside that mall, a little section of maybe a fashion study of an interior space and what that might look like in a very quick little ballpoint. Actually, the same pen. This is a great new pen. Sharpie pen has come up with a nice new fine line pen. It really works well, and it takes marker nicely too. It doesn't ink up on you or bleed. So that was interesting. So that's one. Again, a passive, and again, doing this again, interior studies, for example. Again, that same mall process, different different areas of entry, and actually retail spaces working with the actual pace. But notice again, look how loose and fluid they are. Hopefully, there's not a lot of static elements in the sketch itself. There's a lot of motion in them, and I think again that's the reason for today's stream, to understand that the mobility side of it all is what really gives it magic. It gives it character. Hello everyone, Sam03CC. How are you, Sam? Good to have you on board. How are you? Where are you coming in from? Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you on board. Super. And by the way, Sam03CC, are you an interior space guy or product design guy? And again, what's your profession, discipline, and where are you tuning in from? I'd just like to know. Thank you so much for joining us. This is great. I'll hold on a moment to get a response, and then we'll kind of carry on as we go. In the meantime, waiting for Sam's response here. The whole concept again is to never get to the place where you slow things down. It becomes the point I'm trying to get at here, in addition to the mobility factor, is how many times have we done a sketch where it's so slow, so methodical, it loses life or it doesn't have any spizzerington about it. It has no life, no spirit. That's what the whole idea about Sid Mead was getting at. Any sketch you do should have a spirit about them that lets your viewer know that you're active and alive. Really interesting things to deal with here. So let me move along. I'll wait for Sam's response here. Doc, what did you mean by a fashion study? A fashion study is the fashion, for example, the fashion of the sketch. Is it retail? Is it formal? Informal? Is it high? Is it high-end mobility? Is there a lot of softness in it? Is there a lot of sheerness in it? The fashion of the whole process. That falls in line with the idea of fashion and mobility. The mobility should be very tempo-driven. It's a very active area, and the fashion should be able to match that. At the same time, it's a very staid, non-dynamic area. It still can remain modal, but it's a lot more austere cleanness to it. So, but you still keep the sketch very active. Does that make sense? Yeah, well, I know. I've been there too, and Terrace, believe me, I have been there, but it took a long time to rinse out. You want to be so good and so careful, it becomes error-filled. And I'm not criticizing your work, but I've seen that happen so often. It's just incredible how that happens. So, hey, Sam, you're still there? I'd like to know where you're coming in from. It's great to have an audience, and thank you for joining us today. Great stuff. So, yeah, again, the fashion is, what's the character of the sketch? Or the nobility is much more. Mobility is much more the drama or the melody of it. So hopefully that works. It's it. Again, little thumbnail studies here. There's one. There's another sketch here. Just a family of forms. Again, looking at interior space. This is more of a medical office. I was working with here in town, looking for a new approach to the entryway into his medical office, and so this is more of a retail space for a department store office. And again, little thumbnail study for them to look at and analyze, and we're going to take their input and fit into a final sketch here. So these are just a variety of sketches playing up on the whole idea of today's stream. In interior space design studies, concept sketches, keep them mobile. No matter what the character is. You have three, hey, this is Ryan. Hey, choose your username. All right, hey. All right, Ryan, so you're Sam03cc. Interesting, I'm glad you joined me today. I was going to try and get in touch with you throughout the course of the day. I've got a schedule problem later this afternoon, but I'll try and get in touch with you sometime tomorrow, Ryan. But good to have you on board. Thank you. So here we go. Just little sketches. I'll just kind of move along here. This is kind of interesting. This was done for a little interior a new technical center in Los Angeles, California for Honda. The same kind of situation where actually nice little, notice how much more sterile this is. This is a freehand sketch. This has more of a fashion where it's corporate. If that makes sense, gang. These are much more, I would say, retail space. All right, let's put them side by side here. These are much more retail space. On one side, you've got a retail look, which is a lot more glamorous, active, fashionable, etc. And you've got a corporate look where it becomes very fashionable, very sedate, very austere, very much in tune with the client's personality. So this was done for Honda. And let's move along here. Again, black and white line study. And let's see if there's another one here. Oh yeah, here it is. There's a compatible piece. There's the actual line study. There's a little real quick little color rough with the same setup here. Is it all making sense here? Those guys look okay. Again, notice very fluid, very organic, but at the same time, freehand sketch, very slowed down, very corporate, but it's still in fashion with what the client was asking for. So hope that makes sense, gang. I don't want to confuse anybody here with the idea between be lucid and flamboyant all the times. You can be that character in both avenues of life, whether it's formal or informal, but at the same time, the corporate side is a little more fashionable in terms of being very austere, because Honda very much has a definite personality. You don't want to violate that. Whereas in retail space, for example, the other sketches, they're looking for flavor, freshness, something unique and new, different set of circumstances from a visual point of view. So there they are. Let's put that in place. Let's get this guy over a little bit here, and we're kind of moving along. I've got a whole group of them to show you here today in interior space design. There's another set. This is commissioned These are commissioned pieces in color for the YMCA and in a Midwestern state. They came in and we're doing a whole new facelift on the actual building itself and interior space. So they asked me to put together a series of sketches. Again, very formal because it's a YMCA. Again, they've got a character about them that they don't want to violate, but the newness in some of the shapes were very dramatic and different. Very different from them. So Again, but the idea behind these sketches in today's stream, be active in the sketch. Give it dynamics. Whether it's very slow, very dynamic, very architecturally fashionable, very personality related, fine, great. So there's one, and let's put them side by side. There's a little office study here, side by side. That's what the office looked like inside that same space. Probably get this out of the way. Again, notice full color. They dictated the colors, very rust tones, very neutral, wood grains and stone, etc. So that was dictated to me, but at the same time, behind the scenes were sketches like these, for example, a lot of sketches like this to get into the actual flavor itself. So there it is, gang. Let's put these together here. That one went first. There's another one here. Let's put this one up here. Next set of, again, side by side. This is more of an active the gym area, physical area that they were dealing with. Again, same basic character, personality, very quick, but at the same time, tuning into what the vendor or the actual client wanted. And again, they made it very clear too in this process when I started. They liked the idea of being very flamboyant and very lucid at the same time telling a story. But when it came down to the final sketches, they had to sell this to the board of directors, so it's a different series. But the fashion still remained the same, and the mobility still remained the same. You're moving in and out of the space, changing tempo and space and color. So that's that. And I think let's go back here, one more. There's the last one right there. This is more of a gymnasium athletic area here, part of that whole process, a gymnasium, basketball court, basketball, etc., field hockey, whatever we're going to work with it on. So let me slow down here a little bit, gang, and ask you a very, very sensitive question. Is this making sense so far? Coming along good, Sam? Yeah, I love it. Sam 03CC is now Ryan. That's pretty cool. Any commentary, guys? I mean, any questions about some of the language being used here in this today's stream? Again, I'm trying to move things around very rapidly from product in the past to some interior space work and some architectural work and automotive work. I don't like to live in one realm too quickly. I always like to keep things moving around. So, anybody, any comments at all? If not, I'll just kind of move along. Looking good, gang. Thank you so much for being on board here. Let's take advantage here of a little bit of time. Give yourself a break here. And also, it's all making sense. Hey, that's good. Thanks, Antares. Let's do this. Let's get these guys out of the way. Put these together and move along with these guys. Let's put this out of the way as well. And then move these out of the way here. And I'll show you some of the other, some sketches along the way here. Back to again, my favorite approach in starting a project is always the whole idea of being very lucid and changeable. And again, experimenting with different media. These are ballpoint pen sketches with a little bit of color added. These were for corporate pieces, for example. This is for an office space in New York. This is for an office space, and I believe it was in Florida, for a client down there that I've worked with some years in the past. I just wanted to come back and do some really quick little thumbnail sketches for them. So these are little ballpoint pen sketches. Again, very quick. And when I say quick, it doesn't mean you're running through it without a pattern behind it or a certain system. Quickness in terms of making decisions very rapidly. And you'll find out, and maybe I'm in error here, but I'll just make this comment for what it's worth. I have found that the quicker you move, the more accurate you are. Let me say that again. I have found that the quicker you move, the more accurate you are. Why? Very simple. Because you're removing doubt. You're confident. You begin to see this space does this, that line does that, that shape does this. It's all very much a matter of confidence. And the quicker you move, the more confident you become. The methodical side of us says, yeah, it could be a little risky. But the actual melodical side of us, the melody side of us says this is really spot on. It gives it, again, going back to a very simple term throughout the course of the day here, it gives it character, personality, gives it life. There's an old Hebrew term I think is very appropriate here in sketch rendering, that is called spizzaringtum. Quicken it, bring it to life. From the paper, bring it to life. So here we go. That's it. There's sketch number one. The same family of studies here. It's for a library complex. Again, I think in, what was it? It's Colorado. This was done for an office complex and down in Cincinnati. Looking at a whole new look at things here. Okay, Antares, let me stop here. Yes, when you labor over a decision too long, it can be self-defeating. Hearing you say that quickens removes the doubt. And again, thanks, Antares. The idea we're getting behind here on the quickening process, or moving rapidly, is really the whole idea. quickness to me is related to sight. Your sight pattern will dictate the rapid or the pace. And the more you begin to see things in terms of opening up, that's why I open up. Notice all these sketches are opening up. The spaces are opening up. So I'm seeing a full periphery of visuals inside the shape itself. So very interesting, and that takes place, for example. So the more you open up the periphery, the more you have to take advantage of getting the quickness down and seeing these elements come together. And again, as we said in the first few minutes of the stream, mobility is moving in and out of this space so that it's to give it character. You're not falling in flattened, for example. Notice how the lines are kind of pulling you into the space itself. That's the idea of being invitational. You invite the viewer into the actual concept of itself. So let's move along here. I've got ballpoint pen sketches. This is an interesting little study here for an office complex out in the Dayton area. For example, they when they came together did this is a very simple freehand line drawing of the actual office space that they're dealing with here. They had an interior designer come in, and again, I'm not being critical of the interior designer, but she came along, or that group came along and gave them color palettes and all that, but they didn't give her the sense of the space of the volume that they were working with, what the shapes were looking like. So I got hired by the group that I've worked with in the past to come back. I've done several projects with them. They called me back in and said, hey, we need to see a concept sketch of what these office spaces are going to look like for a 5-story office building. So here it is. There's a line drawing, and we'll just try to put them side by side. There's the line drawing. And next is the actual final color. Let's see, we'll put these together. Let's do that. There's the actual final color itself of the actual piece. A lot of redwoods and mahoganies, very simple neutral floors, tile space, etc. Very clean, again, very freehand line drawing of all the materials put into place. This is the line drawing study. And bringing it down just a bit for publication processes at their demand is this approach here. That's very interesting. That's it. So there's the line itself. Again, color. Again, notice there's a lot of motion in the color too. Everything kind of static in terms of not everything's all filled in. And that's one of the things I think is really, to me, discouraging and defeatist when you put together a sketch. When you fill it all in, there's no mystery. But you keep things open a little bit, let a little bit of white space through. Let some of the paper come through. It goes back to some of the things we've said in previous streams as well. And remember some of the comments, for example, that a good concept sketch or a good finished illustration should consist of 3 components: 50% paper, 25% sketch, 25% medium. That's what these ideas all come together on. Line weight changes obviously are part of the process as well. But those are that formula, again, is a Sid Meadism. Keep it that generic, that's simple, and you go from there. Pardon me. Get these together. There's the line drawing, and again, here's the color study. By the way, this is done for of all things, I was contracted by a firm in Uganda, in South Africa. They were doing a whole new mall complex. In fact, I think I might do a future stream on that whole project. I was in charge of putting together the exterior work, the actual layout of the grounds, some of the features and the character of this new community they're building in Uganda, over in South Africa. This is a little study of an interior process in the mall that they're working with, and I think I'll keep this out, for example, maybe in a future stream, and show you the rest of it. It's a very massive project with a lot of activity areas, retail spaces, office spaces, recreational areas. So I might bring those sketches together and put on a stream on architectural work here in the future. So, but this specifically, since today is a stream on interior space, this is a little line drawing sketch of that interior space in the mall that they're working with on this space in Uganda. Again, the line drawing, freehand line drawing, just very simple. Put it all together. That's a line study. These guys put together here would be in good shape. My fingers to work. There's one. This is always fun to show too. I think it's a very good thing to always begin to be mindful of this stuff. This is how you build the architecture of a sketch. This is a freehand study in one-point perspective where the actual vanishing point is right back in through here. When the whole space comes open, this is for a cafeteria process for a major university in the Midwest. And it was interesting how they came together. They wanted open space. They wanted some roundness in it. They wanted to be very open and free. A lot of photographs and film studio areas here, restaurant line on this side, some seating areas. But I thought, you always get to the place where you actually show all the finished work. and I think that's fine. The way you fade off the color of those choppy lines makes sense, more appealing than if it were. Yeah, I think that, again, no matter what you're doing, if it's vehicle design, no matter what the discipline is, Terrace, take that operation into play. Be very lucid with it. Give enough information to get the surface down, but then open it up and really begin to just get much more fluid with it. And again, mobility, mobility, mobility. Keep it moving. And back to this sketch here. I've always felt that it's always good to show how you got there, what the actual sketch. I mean, this is the architecture, the DNA of a perspective drawing. Lots of lines, lots of fill-in stuff, lots of complicated stuff, but it gives you the idea of what the space is looking like. So there it is. Then all of a sudden, from that into the final line drawing. That's what you're after. You clean it up a little bit, add some components to it. Notice we came back from an idea of getting some material up front, a little more seating space in the area itself. So we went ahead and did that and added that to it. Again, notice a lot of foliage, a lot of booths along the side, a dining area, seating area here, and a little bit more like a service station at the end. But again, from the actual rough study, this is what begins to open up in terms of giving you a very good feeling for the final character of the sketch that you're working on. So that's that guy. Another little office study. This is done for the YMCA. I think the American Cancer Society, and that was down in, I think, in Virginia. So it was interesting how they came to me and said, "Hey, we've got a whole little office complex we're dealing with, but we can't find an illustrator. There's some interior work for it. Could you help us?" Absolutely, I can help you. So this is done again, typical receptionist area, entry area, seating areas in here, and then come back into the actual office area itself. In a full color study, and again, notice not everything's not filled. A lot of white space coming through the area to kind of give it breath, or spirit, or life, just to kind of give it again that character, mobile, mobile, mobile. And again, this guy here, this is fun too. This goes back into some architectural things here we're dealing with. This, again, back to the anatomy of the sketch. This is for a hotel complex in Houston, Texas, and the interesting thing about the whole process was he had this very, very millennial ladder coming up the steps up into the actual second floor, the entry level of the actual piece itself. So we started there, but all the activity was up here on the second level. He wanted a photo storyboard back here, a lot of seating areas, this stairway, a lot of office elevator space over here, some video board material, etc. Lighting was a little bit different. So sketches went back and forth, and what came back was a very interesting set of circumstances in terms of what the needs were, and the needs were to be a little more dynamic. So I think that was a good call because it was very sterile. Had some of the elements were there, but not all the elements were there. So we came back in and began to really look at, all right, what do we do with this space? That's going to stay. The overall space is going to stay. This video board back here will stay. In fact, one of the things I remember about this whole process was in this back area here, where this red line is backing through here, he wanted a 4-stage vegetable, like a waterfall system. What would it be like? Almost like a waterscape with a lot of vegetation in it. Well, once he looked at that, as far as cost was concerned, to maintain the fountain work and cleaning it and so forth, no, that was out. He went more to a video system here where it told the story of the actual space, maybe the construction system, or some sort of an element changing pace from a video point of view to give the clients and the attendees and the guests a little more entertainment. So again, this is a line study for that actual process itself, just again to feel the character of the second floor. And here's the final. Look at the difference. Much more dynamic, much more fluid, a lot more color in terms of, again, notice, changing the whole process. Look at this whole side wall here. Everything changed, for example. Fine, if I can line these up side by side, I don't think we're going to get a lot of space in here. Maybe just, again, let's do this. Look, this whole side was very static. Again, static on this side, nothing up front to kind of invite you back in. So we went from that pace to that pace. Look at the difference in the character. A little bit of a grain system around it, a lot more foliage. This became much more office space. The elevators are down and all of it, and up and down. And these are little time blocks and hallways, and maybe some restroom areas or banquet areas. A lot more retail on this side. And there's that video board we were talking about. And notice the lighting. Let me move this down. Sorry about that here. The lighting completely changed. I mean, it's a very dramatic looking ceiling on that thing. He loved it. And I thought, wow, they loved the process, and they thought this really does the job. So they built the system a lot more. Notice again, too, the valence around the actual upper. This whole valence here changed dramatically. Before it was just a flat ceiling, flush to flush. Then they changed it over, and working back and forth with them, again, on a multitude of sketches to solve this thing was absolutely incredible. So a lot of fun, but when it's all said and done, this is nothing more than a modified line drawing in terms of putting the pieces together. But I think the one thing I'll close with here, that's just great stuff. I mean, thank you, Architerctural. I mean, it just really, it didn't take a lot of time. The time is invested in getting the right personality. And again, getting the fashion of it down. What's it going to look like? Is it active, inactive? Is it aggressive, non-aggressive? Is it passive, and so forth? Those things are vital when you work with a client, to let them know that your space could be and shall be, or might want to be. And you give them ideas and suggestions, that's a huge step forward in your credibility with them as you work with it here. So this hotel was a very interesting project. The first store was like retail space, coffee shops and odds and ends and shopping areas. Second floor was this guy, and everything above that was the hotel. And these are the actual hotel elevator systems that are on that floor. So a lot of time spent. It's about maybe a 1 month project working back and forth with them. And this is not the only sketch. We did a whole bunch of interior space stuff too. Maybe I'll bring along some of the other first floor retail spaces that we did for them as well. But I just want to abbreviate this presentation today to let you see how this whole process begins. And I think that one of the most important things about the whole day's process to me, or stream, would be the importance of being very rapid. And being able to move around and keeping the sketch active, and being very, very fluid in terms of putting together the pieces, and not get caught up with being too caught up on details in the very beginning of the primary itself. I think the idea is to get the concept down, keeping it, to build the sketch. And by meaning that, for example, when you build that sketch, it takes an incredible amount of effort in terms of taking it step by step by step. But at the same time, while you're going through these process of stepping it, you're actually moving in and out of the picture plane and making decisions as you go. And again, that quickness, the quicker you go, the more accurate you become. I hope that makes sense, gang. Does that make sense, Architerctural? CC? Old Sam, is it making sense? Hopefully help me out here, guys. That's a comment I've made here, but I want to make sure that justified in your minds. Having a clear vision in mind, like we talked about before, that intention for the personality design will translate. Yeah. Actually, I think that's a great point, too, Architerctural. Let me just add that on top of what your comment was there, too. I think the more you begin to take advantage, for example, know the end from the beginning. In other words, what's the vision going to be like? Now, let me clarify that very carefully here. Knowing the end from the beginning does not necessarily mean that you know it all from the very beginning. But what's the vision? What are you trying to capture? Then from there, move into step by step by step. Maybe that vision will change. That's fine. But at least at the very beginning, you have a vision or a concept of what you're going to work with here. You did enjoy working with my product. I'll tell you what, let me finish that last comment. The more you work with that, the stronger it's going to become. So I think the vision side of it's great. And Sam, very interesting thing. What design subject do you enjoy working on the most? Product, interior, etc.? In all honesty, Sam, I mean, not being flippant here at all. I think all of them. There's an intrigue in every one of them. Transportation design, product design, interior space design, architecture. The reason I enjoy all of them is because they all offer a really specific, unique set of challenges. Now, the challenges might vary. I've always said this too from a teaching point of view, when I go through lectures or workshops, etc., with groups or corporations, that the product we see or visualize might change, but the process never does. The process by which you begin to create this stuff and generate it and give it life never changes. Now, the product might be different, from a car to a product to a hand drill, but the process of getting there is still the same. See it as an empathy. See it as a volumetric study. Build the shapes. Break it down into what the geometry is all about, then begin to elevate it from there. That's the same way of saying giving a process or any given discipline some mobility. Keep it mobile. The more mobile it becomes, the more active it becomes. It tells your viewer, for example, you're alive. You've got personality. You've got structure in your sketches. You're confident. They look confident. They've got a spark about them. That's important in this business, I think, very much so, especially with young design talents. I work with a STEM group, and I'm for 43 schools in 5 states. The progress those kids are making are phenomenal. Not because of me, but because of the process. We keep teaching process. The process changes. The process will always be the same, but the product might be, again, the same. So that product's not going to change, but the process by getting it there and creating it is extremely different. So that's it for today, guys. I go through this stuff here. Let me just go back here in case you missed it here, Sam. I've got some preliminary sketches here. I started here with these guys. We'll wrap these beauties up. It's a variety of little thumbnail interior sketches to deal with. But I think the most important part was some of this stuff here that we dealt with in terms of this is a little thumbnail sketch we did to start the program today. Just a little one-point study, getting the shell down, and then just a variety of sketches here, for example. Let me walk through them real quickly. There was that guy, and then we had that guy, some concept work, etc. Or looking at character, going into that beauty. Again, just little concept sketches, getting the space down, becoming active with it. In the Honda's program, I think you saw that, the black and white line drawing, and then the little color slide to go with it. Then the family of forms here for the YMCA. New building, new process, new architecture, but again, very, very corporate looking. I got that. Yeah, there it is. Same, there's a little office space or library area, and that same complication. There we are. There it is there. Then we've got the actual gymnasium, for example, basketball courts and storage areas, etc. And the last one here, I think I bricked up. Yeah, I did. That's it. Yeah, this one here is a part of the gymnasium as well. There we are. So that's more of the athletic side of things, getting the check-in area, some of the physical activity rooms, and then the gymnasium structure, and then itself. So there we are, and this is the one I started with here. Little black and white line drawing. There it is. Let me get these out of the way here, guys. And so, once again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has been a very entertaining day for you. You've had as much fun doing this or viewing this as much fun as I had putting it all together. It's always a treat to be part of the process with great individuals like yourself, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join me here today. In closing, any commentary or question here today, guys, about this whole process of being fluid, mobile in the interior space design concept work we showed you today? Anybody? If not, boy, I tell you what a joy it is to have guys like yourself on board to kind of give some feedback and some commentary work on the work being done. It makes a huge difference. So thank you so much. Anybody? I'll hang on a couple of minutes here and then we'll kind of wrap it all up. While I'm waiting here for any commentary you might have, Antero, thank you, Doc. Always a treat to you. And thanks very much, Antero. And thank you to you. Hope you're feeling better. And much appreciate you joining us here today. And we'll be back on. Hey, thanks very much, Sam. Wonderful. A little bit of a heads up here, guys, before I sign off for today. Because of my mistake last week about thinking that Tuesday was Wednesday, we got it all backwards. I couldn't believe it. I got home, I thought, geez. So I missed a day. So that's why I'm picking up today's stream. Also, if you're available, I'll be live again this Wednesday. At the same time at 2 o'clock to make up the time from last week. I'm changing subject matter. I haven't put together the program yet, but I think I kind of shift gears a little bit and change the subject matter and get a little more fluid with the stuff. But yeah, keep it active. And I hope you join me then on this coming Wednesday at the same time around 2 o'clock. But above all else, you don't know how much I appreciate and respect you for taking the time to be with me today. It's always a joy to have you guys on board, and I wish you all the very best. And I hope you take a moment to look at my website at drcontrast.com. And if you have any questions or concerns about what you might want to work on, for example, Sam or Antares, things you might want to have me look at, if I can be of any help, I'd be more than happy to help you. Drop me a note, my email address at jim@drcontrast.com, and that'll get it all squared away. And again, thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great day, and looking forward to it. Again, we'll change subject matters. I'm not quite sure yet whether we're going to do automobile or product or something will come up. Maybe I'll do some logo work. I don't know. Or landscape architecture. We'll change gears a little bit. I've got a program coming in on landscape architecture. So it might be, I think I'll get their permission today or tomorrow to see if I can start with some thumbnail sketches and put it on the stream, if we can do that. If not, I'll change gears and get something that's a little more valid until we get things squared away. I do have another project out of Indiana coming in that might be interesting too to work with. So we'll just kind of keep our options open and look at it forward. A really neat deal on Wednesday. So once again, gang, thank you. All the very best. Take care of yourself, and I always tune out with this very, very important yet necessary comment. I think it's the best part of the day, the best part of the stream. It's simply this. I am so grateful for the fact that you're joining us today. But again, always never forget to dare to be great, because you are. Just be great. All the best, gang. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.